What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we dive into some previews for Wilds of Eldraine, focusing on the white color and commons and uncommons from the set. Overall, I think these cards will be definitely some decent budget cards to pick up or look for as you open packs of the new set and kind of explore whether you are looking to play standard or other formats throughout Magic the Gathering. With that being said, let's just dive into the previews and let's just start talking about them. So the first card up is going to be Cursed Cordier. It is a 3-mana 3/3 lifelinker that as it enters the battlefield, you put a cursed roll token onto it, therefore making it a 1/1 creature. But if you're able to remove this cursed roll by either having some sort of enchantment removal or assigning this creature a new role, it therefore then becomes the 3/3 lifelinker part and makes it overall pretty effective 3-drop for 3 mana, especially if you're on some sort of budget or a budget player in general. I do think this roll thing is going to be kind of an interesting mechanic overall, but I do think this is not a bad card to look at. I know it doesn't seem that great because it has a downside as you play it, but if you are able to get rid of that downside, this definitely makes it a pretty decent overall uncommon. The next card up on this list is an interesting card here. It is Return Triumphant. It returns target creature card converted cost 3 or less with the Young Hero role attached to it. This is definitely an interesting role overall, as it is a role that whenever this creature attacks, if its toughness is 3 or less, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on it, and then if another role would be assigned to this creature, you put this role into the graveyard. Overall, it's always good to have some sort of reanimate type of spell, and in mono white it's definitely not that bad overall, as the creature will get bigger and bigger the more it attacks, especially if it's a very small creature. There are creatures in this set and other sets that are 2/1s, and you can get that creature up to a 4/3 if it's able to successfully attack over and over again, and just having some sort of way to recur these creatures if there's some sort of board weight or spot removal spell is definitely good overall. Sorcery speed makes it a little bit slow as you have to do it on your turn, but still not that bad overall of a card. The next card up is going to be Stroke of Midnight. This is a 3-mana instant speed spell that destroys target non-land permanent, and then its controller creates a 1/1 human creature token to replace the non-land permanent spell that you may have destroyed. I do think this card is very good overall. It's definitely a much better generous gift, as playing a lot of Commander recently. This is definitely a better upside, because generous gift gives the person that you've done this spell to a 3/3 elephant. This then gives them a 1/1 human creature token instead, which is definitely easier to deal with, as a 1/1 is not as threatened as a 3/3 elephant. But for overall white having some sort of spot removal spell, I do think this card will see some play, definitely in standard. I do think this may be a card that replaces generous gift in Commander. Overall, a very, very good card, especially at 3 mana in instant speed. The next card up is going to be Glass Casket. Now, this is a card that is a reprint from the original Throne of Eldraine. This card is definitely very solid. I do think as a 2-mana spell, it removes target creature card that opponent controls with mana value 3 or less. This will definitely, remove any pesky little small creatures that could become threats later on in the game. Overall, very, very good card. It's definitely great to see this card get reprinted, as I do think it's definitely something that could see a lot of play, especially in standard for maybe control decks or mid-range decks that are playing white in their mana base. The next card up on this list is going to be the Cern Financer. This is a 3-mana 2/3 with the ability of that being of our upkeep. If an opponent controls more lands than we do, we could get to create a treasure token. Definitely a very unique card in that sense. It may be in a one-on-one game, it may be hard to keep on consistently getting those treasure tokens, as maybe your opponent will slow down their land play once they hit their plateau where they may need to get to mana wise. But definitely in Commander, this will definitely see a ton of play, as you have more chances of hitting, because in Commander a lot of times people just want to get a lot of mana out on the battlefield to cast their big spells. But I do think this is an overall very, very good uncommon. It also has the ability here as well that you can tap 2 colorless and a white, and you can give another player a treasure token you control, and you get to draw a card out of it. Definitely kind of like an interesting kind of side ability here. Maybe you're in a position that you have a lot of treasure, or you have a decent amount of mana, and passing that one treasure to somebody who may not really need it as well definitely has the upside of getting a draw card. So I do really like this card. Maybe not 100% for standard, but definitely maybe for something like a Commander. The next card up is going to be Eerie Interference. It's a 3-mana instant speed spell that prevents all damage that would be dealt to you and creatures you control this turn by creatures. So definitely a very interesting fog effect, as it is something that doesn't just prevent all damage, as it has to be directly from creature sources. Definitely maybe a stall kind of tactic if you maybe want to attack in, if your opponent's attacking very aggressively, or if you don't want to block whatsoever. As long as your opponent's attacking you with creatures, you can prevent all that damage. So definitely unique in that way. It is kind of pricey, but definitely not a bad, interesting fog effect. Maybe even have in a control matchup where you may be trying to stall a little bit until your next turn where you want to play that board wipe. Definitely kind of something good to have in your back pocket in that instance. But overall, very interesting, I would say, fog effect to be introduced into the standard format. The next card up is going to be Cheeky House Mouse. This is a solid 1-mana 2/1 very vanilla, but it's definitely pretty effective because playing any creature that has 2 power on turn 1 is definitely very good. It also has a Venture that is a sorcery speed spell called Squeak By. It gives target creature control +1/+1, and then that creature cannot be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater, making it very effective of getting additional points of damage, maybe against your opponent who has larger creatures. I do think this card's pretty solid. I do think, the fact that you only have to commit 2 mana to it to get both sides effectively is definitely very good as well. And at being uncommon, this is definitely not a bad card to have if you're maybe looking to play some sort of aggro deck and looking for ways to give your smaller creatures maybe ways to get through bigger creatures. This is definitely a solid card. And that's going to be it for white and Wilds of Eldraine for commons and uncommons. I think most of these cards are pretty exciting to kind of mess around with, kind of really see how good they are. Just looking at face value, most of them are pretty effective and what each spell is trying to do overall. We're going to dive into more of the colors in this set in future videos, so stay tuned for those. If you like the video, hit that like button, definitely helps out a lot. If there's a card I missed that maybe I didn't cover in this video in the comment or uncommon slot, let me know in the comments below. And if you're new here, you want to know I post new videos on this channel like this one, hit that subscribe button. But until next time, I'll see you in the next video.